Hello everybody, Dave Neal here, stand-up comic host of Bachelor in Paradise, a guys review. Lots to cover in this video, but we will talk about the backlash that contestants are facing, from Jasenia to Piper, and how Rachel Kirkconnell has given them some advice, so sources say, about how they can navigate these troubling times. Because let me tell you something, when the wrecking ball of Bachelor Nation hits, it doesn't stop at its target, it eviscerates everything in its path. We come in like a wrecking ball. That's what we do. All right, so we'll get into that. Like the video, if you don't mind. Subscribe if you haven't already. If you think you are, double check and hit the subscribe button. If you want extra content behind the scenes, all about my YouTube analytics, what we talk about, future projects, upcoming things, you can go check out all the live streams and full stand-up comedy sets at patreon.com/Dave Neal. Now, right before we get in, last pitch of the day, Dave Neal's community started at 35 followers. Now we're at 208. We're having a good chat over there right now. So join the community on Facebook, and that's where you'll get up-to-date info on show dates, tours, all that types of stuff, including Thursday's San Diego show. Okay, and if you have last-minute cancellations on your plans, like say you were trying to get into the Dancing with the Stars premiere tonight and it didn't happen, come to my comedy show at Hollywood Improv, 7:30 p.m. in the lab. Okay, let's get into the story. Here we have this nice article by Page 6. You guys know me. I get all my Pulitzer Prize-winning information from Page 6. Not Page 5 or Page 7, but the 6. Rachel Kirkconnell is helping Piper James through Bachelor in Paradise Backlash. Again, both contestants on Matt James' season, right? That's what Piper's from. Both young, both, I don't know, maybe naive. No, I don't think Piper's not going to face the type of backlash Rachel faced, but at least Rachel had 500,000 followers to bounce back on, where Piper's losing them left and right here. She's down somewhere in the 70s. So let's read the article. She knows a thing or two about navigating Bachelor Nation drama. Rachel Kirkconnell has offered support to former Bachelor Season 25 co-star Piper James as the latter recovers from an embarrassing run on Bachelor in Paradise Season 7. Rachel has been in Piper's shoes before, the insider said, adding that Kirkconnell, 24, believes her own scandal, which involved accusations of racism, was much worse. Again, this is from a anonymous source. This isn't Rachel saying it. I'm sure she'd be mortified if she read that some of her family or friends were speaking on her behalf. Who knows? It could have just been made up. It literally could just be made up. Rachel felt compelled to reach out and let Piper know that it will all be okay and that the situation with Brendan isn't the end of the world. She feels like the perfect person for Piper to lean on right now. As Paradise viewers witnessed in last week's episode, James and Morais were all but exiled from the beach after their alleged scheme to continue a previously established relationship on reality TV was unveiled. And they've yet to really acknowledge that there was a scheme. You know, they're basically saying, no, we saw each other the day before we left. I just drove him to the airport. I didn't know where he was going, you know. Oh, hey, fancy to see you at the beach. They're looking very shiny here. It was very hot there in Mexico. The pair waded deeper into villain territory when they were caught on camera discussing their Instagram follower counts, screen time on the ABC show, and fascination with articles written about them. I don't want to negate any of Rachel Kirkconnell's issues that she's had, but she didn't, I would say, intend, she had her past brought up, whereas Piper and Brendan had their current situations aired live on TV. It was a little bit different in that case, a little different. Whereas Piper, she's kind of seen as sort of a mean girl before. I never really saw that. I thought, when you get people together, they just become part of a glob of mean people. It's like, can you pick them all apart? Can you tell who's even the bad person at some points? Or does low energy just create more low energy? I don't know. Adding to the impropriety was that Morais lured fan favorite Natasha Parker into a temporary romance. So we know how it all went. Brendan lost 100,000 followers. Piper lost a couple. Some accused her of buying followers. I don't think that's the case. I think just people weren't as triggered by her actions as they were by others. And then we get into Rachel. So, really not much going on in this article. Rachel told Piper that she's here for her whatever she needs. Hey, that's a good friend. Was Piper there for Rachel is the question. When Rachel needed it, who cares? They're there together now. So they've apologized to fans and to Natasha, 33, for their behavior on the show, but they still strongly deny that they made a plan to reunite in Mexico after going on several dates earlier this year. I guess we might just never know. Are they going to double down on the apology? Here's what's going to happen. If Piper and Brendan break up, assuming they're still together, but if they break up, then you'll start to see them throwing each other under the bus. Oh, he told me this would be the way to do it, or this or that. Then she can play the victim. That hasn't happened yet. So they might still be together. And, when you're still together after some adversity like this, things have a way of working themselves out. Matt James and Rachel Kirkconnell holding hands. Breaking news, folks. Holding hands here. Let's go. Tonight is the premiere of Dancing with the Stars. So let's see what we have here. This is from Rachel Kirkconnell's stories. Justin takes the batch, our good boy Justin over there, the Batman to my Robin, or the Robin to my Batman. I'm not really sure. We haven't defined our roles yet. Reposted this on his reels. This is Matt James doing the steps, although he looks a little pigeon-toed there. Big feet. Already tripping with his feet here with Hannah Brown, winner, spoiler, of a previous season of Dancing with the Stars, D-Dubs TS. So we'll have to see. He's got the energy, he's got the athleticism, but look how big those shoes are. How can you Paso Doble in size 16 feet? Am I right? We'll see if he can samba his way into the hearts of America. I will be covering the Dancing with the Stars, results, tweets, what people have to say after tonight's live. I can't watch the show live. I have a stand-up show, but I will watch it as soon as I can and do a Dancing with the Stars recap, at least as long as Matt James is in on it. So let's go to Rachel Kirkconnell's posts here, and then we'll go to what Jacenyas has to say about the backlash she has faced. So here they are holding hands. This is yesterday. Is there audio here? Let's see if we got audio. So there's Matt, doing the old dance, air guitar. That's what you do in LA. So look, they're glowing. They're back in SoCal. Tonight's the big night. This was yesterday morning. They go to the beach, still jamming. Knows the camera's on. There she is, Manny Petty. It's sweater season. Ladies love a good sweater season. So let's see. There they are getting their acai bowls. They do the beach this morning. This is interesting. They went to the beach this morning. It's like, bro, aren't you dancing tonight? Don't you need to save your energy? But he was a professional athlete, so I think he'll be fine. There they are. He's got the nice bucket hat there. So we'll see how Matt James does tonight. Let's hope that Bachelor Nation can keep voting him forward. I'd love to see a positive edit. I'd love to see Bachelor Nation getting to see sort of a silly, footloose, and free guy, something that they did not really get to see on the season. Jellies. Are those jellies? Crocs? Whatever they're called. All right, so let's barrel through here. She ordered a carrot cake pop, but they brought her a parrot cake pop. All right, we got that. Turns out it was a parrot cake pop. All right, none of this is important, but we love a good Instagram story. All right, here we go. This is the good stuff. Bachelorette. We love the Bachelorette. Their Instagram page, their podcast, their Patreon. Go give them a follow and listen to people that might have different opinions, as you guys do. They are, I use this term every episode, but doing the Lord's work, where they are a dissenting voice in Bachelor Nation, which is so good to hear people talk about things from their own cultural identity, their own sort of place where they see the Bachelor as having underrepresented people of color. They see the Bachelor having dabbled in colorism and other issues that it's important to talk about. So let's read the comment here. The Bachelorette, we chill. Y'all knew we wouldn't let what we've seen unfold in the past couple of weeks go unspoken for on our behalf. So here's this. Also, we released a recap episode for our Patreon patrons where we get even more into the entire mayhem. That was this Brendan, Piper, Natasha ordeal. So if you ain't up in there, go get up in there. So you can go support their Patreon, throw them a buck, throw them a bunch of bucks. That's how independent creators stay afloat, right? With your donations. An open letter to Brendan, because the behavior and the apology were simply not it. We could start by saying you got us effed up, but you already know that. So instead, we'll speak plainly from a place rooted in concern for your lack of care, compassion, and empathy at the expense of Natasha, a dark-skinned black icon on that there beach in Mexico. Sure, we may not have seen everything, absolutely. The edit you received was gnarly. A pitch from producers could very well have influenced your behavior. And yes, frankenbiting is real. But that's not what got you looking like a 2-bit fool. That's not the problem we have here. The problem lies in the words that did come out of your mouth in real time. It reflected a real-life belief that you had, at least at the time, that Natasha was not worthy of romantic attention, that there was something about her that was beneath you, less than, unworthy, that this chocolate drop oozing kindness and an open interest in getting to know you was a mere bump in the road on your way to exploring your already established, official, exclusive or not, relationship, connection, whatever, with Piper. It's not about a rule book. It's the common human decency that you outwardly acknowledge you lack. Even when unintentional, being able to deny wrongdoing, stand your ground in being disrespectful, and saying you purposely withheld information is fundamentally reckless and unsound. Even worse, it perpetuates the very racist notion that Natasha is less worthy of love and care. This done to one of the only remaining dark-skinned black women in paradise within a franchise that has a tracked history of disrespecting black women, especially those of us of the darker variety, both on and off screen. We're talking desirability politics. The very same ones your partner Piper named as an issue of colorism and insecurity on her season with Matt James, when Heather disrespectfully came and interrupted her time and made her feel less desirable and worthless. Whether you meant to or not, and we don't think you're that unaware, you fed into and actively reaffirmed that Natasha was worthless, not only to you, but to anybody who may have been interested in her on that beach. Reminding black women viewers at home of exactly how we're treated on a regular basis when it comes to romantic prospects. White boys only dating certain kinds of black women, light-skinned or mixed black women being asserted as more preferential, the fetishization of varied black ethnicities until you're considered too black, too dark, hair too nappy, etc. to be attractive. Reminding white viewers that this is normal business as usual. And still by proxy of you behaving suboptimally, finagling your partner into being complicit in the utter disregard of someone she should have considered a friend. Now we got Piper out here doubling down on how she behaved, saying she has no regrets, thereby using her light skin privilege to remind us of who is desirable and who is worthy of sheer disregard. Natasha as collateral for a free vacation with your no strings attached boo. And even further, you got real spicy with the likes of Marissa and Deandra. Energy you didn't direct at Joe, yet another affirmation of your comfortability with disrespecting black women. God bless you, Riley wasn't there to gather your edges because, woo, Lord. And this doesn't even touch on your consistent derogatory use of the term females or girls. That's a whole nother post. We could go tit for tat and word for word in your 2 excuse-ridden apologies, but we want you to understand this first. Words mean things. They matter, and that's everyone, Natasha Piper, your peers on the beach, and the audience at home, reacted to more than anything were the words that we saw directly leave those lips. The dismissive tones, the willingness to laugh off your behavior, excitement for social capital, the veracity to which you felt you could buck up to grown women and lie and then buck up when caught in another lie, and your language. We received it as you said it, as you intended it. And the fact of the matter is, your apologies fail to name the harm you really caused on that beach. Your lack of care and utter disregard for Natasha rings louder and louder the more you find ways to skirt around the root issue of what got everyone here. You lied, you manipulated, used, and finessed your way into an abusive position of power over a grown woman and then blamed her for the fallout and reinforced really horrific stuff, racist tropes against a dark-skinned black woman who was kind enough to offer you and your turtleneck the time of day. Our hope is that no matter how uncomfortable these sentiments make you, that you confront them, lean into them wholeheartedly, and see both the larger picture in very minute, specifically nuanced ways you violated Natasha Parker this summer. Allow it to inform how you move forward and get real with yourself and how you'd like to be mindful with your behavior going forward. Surround yourself with folks who will hold you accountable and challenge yourself to be a better human without having to rely on them to clean up your messes, especially if you want to date a black woman. Our letter to Piper is coming soon. Stay tuned, and thank you to all of our community members for giving us the time to call in, but do so thoroughly. What a great statement by the Blckchelorettes. Go give them a follow on Instagram so you can support them, share them on your Instagram stories, do whatever you can to continue to support their message as they're sitting at 50,000 followers. Wouldn't it be nice for them to be sitting at 500,000? Wouldn't it be nice for people? Look, I'm not making excuses for the Bachelor demographic. It's largely white. Couldn't possibly understand the issues of colorism. That it affects Piper, and so greatly illustrated here by the Bachelorette, but that it affects Piper when Heather, a white person, shows up, and then Piper feels less than. Well, then Piper shows up, and then Natasha feels less than. See, it's complicated. The issue's layered. But either way, they do a great job here of explaining that even in the best intentions of frankenbiting and producer manipulation and all these things, Brendan still had those words come out of his mouth. So it's nice that while they're not just saying cancel him, They're giving him real things of substance to think about. And then hopefully, as dust settles, Brendan can learn these, unpack these things, and then possibly talk about them. Wouldn't that be a good solution to at least educating people moving forward on the crimes, even though he says he had his best intentions, just to say, you know what? That doesn't matter. Intentions don't matter when these are the results. Talk about that. So we'll have to see how that all goes. Give the Bachelorette a shout out here. Give their personal Instagrams a follow too. And if you have it in your bank account, give their Patreon a little donation. So now we go to Jasenia. Completely different story that happened in Bachelor in Paradise, but also very similar. We have the story of somebody who just did her thing and yet deals with nonstop hate. Is Bachelor Nation inherently racist? I'll say this. Is our country inherently racist? Are there aspects of our country that are? Of course. Are there aspects of Bachelor Nation that are? Of course. Will everyone realize that? Not right away. But people might realize that they're treating some people with bias over others, or they're looking at a situation that sometimes Bachelor in Paradise can be so nuanced. So when we look at situations with a bias behind that, we'll start to see things differently. So let's see what Jasenia has to say about her time on Bachelor in Paradise. Here's where it all started. A selfie taken moments before my first interview for The Bachelor. I was jobless thanks to the pandemic. I went through a breakup that honestly crushed me, and I was a month shy from overcoming depression. The last thing I ever expected to go through, but I was open to whatever came my way. My experience on the show, however, was like a double-edged sword. I'm lucky to now have friends from all over that I consider family. This experience brought us together, and I'm grateful for the relationships we continue to nurture. I was able to explore romantic... Let me get to the next page here. Romantic. Hold on. Go full image. Sorry for ruining the flow here. Is it on this page? Oh boy. See full image. Oh boy, hold on folks. We're going to get there. We're going to get there. Open link in new tab. Maybe that'll do it. Here we go. I was also subjected. Okay, so I was also, sorry about that, guys. I was also subjected to a lot of hate. I knew what I was signing up for, but it never occurred to me that it meant I could be misunderstood and criticized, and much less did I ever expect to be attacked online for being a brown Latina. Some of that hate reeked with racial or misogynistic microaggressions. I can't be angry without called vindictive. I can't cry without being called manipulative. I can't be emotional without being called dramatic, and there is no room for the mistakes. Whatever I said or did, any way I reacted, any facial expression I made was broken down into the worst possible assumptions. And I have to admit that was the hardest thing to accept. The truth is that you will never really know us, and you'll never know the whole story behind the moments of drama that play out on screen. It's disheartening to see people set on their opinions of me, which were oftentimes influenced by others. Some were much more direct with their hate, and I hope those people, including the ones who have been hateful towards fellow contestants, reflect on their behavior. I'm happy to finish this chapter. It's been fun and emotional, but it was an extraordinary experience, and I'm ready for whatever is next. Jasenia, and again, this isn't to minimize what she's saying, it's actually to just show how serious these issues are. Jasenia wasn't even one of the people that was hit that hard. Doesn't mean she wasn't hit hard. So my point being, she felt these visceral kind of like horrible feelings about how she had to deal with racism, misogyny, all these things in her DMs and people picking her apart. And there was other people that even got it way worse. And of course, it's all subjective. She shouldn't feel this. Alana shouldn't feel this. Chris Conran shouldn't feel this. Who out there? I mean, this is why I wanted to do the show Troll Patrol, where I just show up to people who've like trolled and be like, do you stand by these messages? And show them to people's wives and husbands and kids and be like, your mom said this. Your mom said this to a stranger online. You know, people are out there, they do this. They don't realize. You watch that show Clickbait? That show Clickbait on Netflix does a good job of realizing how people can just become in some fantasy world online. I look, listen, I'm in my 30s, right? I've had to learn how to accept criticism from faceless people and try not to get too upset when criticisms or you know, things are coming from, or attacks are coming from people online that don't stand behind their own name. It's like, you're not a real human, you know? So it's really tough when, you know, in certain cases, you might even be afraid to open up your DMs. I mean, you know, you're afraid to look at your phone because you're like, oh boy, what's that going to be? You know, is that going to wreck my day? No normal humans that don't go on these shows and face these types of criticism truly understand what it's all about. You know, even people like Katie Thurston, who's pretty well loved, you know, she's had to sort of, you know, remove Reddit from her life. And everyone's on Reddit goes, well, yeah, that's just how it is. It's like, well, you don't get it because you're on the side of the mob, not on the side of the person whose house is being lit on fire. I will never understand how spin-off dating shows can have this much of an effect on someone where they have to be so nasty to a little stranger based off of less than 2 hours of TV per week. Sending death threats to Alana and being racist to Jasenia isn't going to make your life any better. That's true. Hurt people, and that's what it all comes down to, right? Hurt people. And if I could offer any advice to Jasenia or Piper or any of them, it's that just try to do good in your day-to-day lives with the people that matter to you. Work on that circle. You know, have good friends that can call on you and you being available to help your good friends and your family. And the rest can be illustrated to your influence, to your audience. And if people don't like that, that's just their own issues. That's their own issues that they're working on. Now, that doesn't make it right. What will we do to fix it? Personally, I'd love a social media that we all get on board where people have their real name, not necessarily their address, but their real name, and they stand behind what they say. That would be nice to me. I know Facebook's kind of that way, but really, if people are going to say racist stuff online, you should know where they work. You should be able to call them out at their family barbecue and just post a screen grabs and be like, oh, yeah, really? You like that? Your Uncle Tim's a pretty nice guy over there, isn't he? I don't know. What do you guys think? Leave a comment at DNeals on Instagram. We've got the Facebook page, Dave Neal's Community. Tons of other content coming up. Like this video on the way out. Subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys later. Be kind, as always. Bye now.